Live Everyday Ethics. I'm Michael Liebowitz, your host. My co-host Persephone is here. We are ready to rock and roll with a great discussion. Please remember that we do super chats, we do super stickers, and they are always appreciated. We're working on some goals right now for super chats and some possible rewards for the audience. As always, I thank you all so much for being here. Persephone, we're also going to work on a Patreon, I believe, for this show, right?
Yeah.
Or am I imagining it? Okay. We've got high from the audience. So
Hi, hi,
Persephone,
hi.
and we already got 99 cents from Daniel Suska. Thank you, Daniel. I hope you got the reel I just sent you from your favorite movie, Donnie Brasco. So I sent this article to you on practical wisdom in organizations. And basically, the thesis is that character matters far more than either incentives or
Rules.
rules. Yes. Yeah. Um, and I tend to agree. And I'll give you an example of why. I used to in prison do a group. I was an inmate facilitator for the Alternatives to Violence project. And there were other inmates that were alternative to violence facilitators. And I believe we would do 4 inmates over the weekend. It would be 4 inmates and then 2 outside volunteers would come in. Or was it 2 inmates? And I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But regardless, it's inmates that are doing it. Yeah, it was 4. So uh, a lot of the other inmates would do stuff that was unethical. For instance, we weren't supposed to have coffee. They would bring coffee. They were not supposed to have snacks. They would bring snacks. They would make the announcement to the group, all those snacks are against the rules. We're not going to stop you if you want to bring them. And I gotta do something here. Maybe if I just move back a little. I don't know. I like to have the whole thing showing, but I don't want to look like I'm so much smaller than you.
You don't want
Uh,
to pull. You don't want to pull a mark.
no, no, no. So I came up with an idea because I used to say, listen, this is a reflection on me. This destroys our credibility. The inmates know how we're living. If you're living in the block and you're doing things that you're not supposed to do, then they're going to know. It destroys our credibility. So I came up with the bright idea. I say, why don't we put together a code of values that we're going to agree to and we'll stick by it. And everybody said, yes, we could do that. So we put forth the code of values and it meant nothing. Everybody just violated it. And when I brought up, hey, guys, we all agreed to this, they told me, well, you're being too rigid is what you're doing. So what I realized there is you can put anything you want down on paper. If the character of the people that are involved is not such that they're going to follow it, then it does not matter. It does not matter one iota. What is your
Yeah.
experience with this type of stuff, Persephone?
My experience is that I can't remember if it was No Name or Cosmic Wolf that said yesterday. A lot of people don't care about being moral. And that is my experience. A lot of people, they don't care what the rules are. They care about furthering themselves, not in the rational way, in the irrational way, doing things for momentary gain at the expense of their life in the long term, because they think in the short term, so the rules don't often matter to them. I mean, that was me when I was younger as well. you know I was a massive rule breaker.
So the author touts Aristotle that you need
Mm.
to learn to develop your character in order to flourish, which I agree with. I think it's great. But he also uses the word moral skill, which we covered yesterday. And he says that another downside of too many rules. Now, to be clear, he doesn't say there should be no rules and no incentives. That I think would be silly. But I've actually read this. I believe there was a study where when people are incentivized to do something, I think there was what they did was it had to do with apples in a tree, and a lady said that she would pay the kids in the neighborhood to clean up the apples. But what ended up happening is the kids thought, and I might be screwing this whole thing up, but the principle I'll get correct. The kids learned that they were only doing it for the money. They in
Mm.
turn didn't do it without the money, so it had no implications for their character. But when people think that they're doing it because it's the right thing to do, then they are inclined to continue to do it. Is that what do you think of that?
Yes. What I thought about the most when I was reading this was Christianity, because Christianity has like certain rules and there is a reward. But in my experience, you will often find, and I'm not going to tar all Christians with the same brush, but you will often find Christians who will behave in extremely unethical and immoral ways as long as they feel like they're still within their own rules and that they can, repent and they can still get their reward at the end of the day. They aren't learning to be moral. They aren't more ethical. They are following a set of rules laid out, and the only reason they are being good is because they want to go to heaven. And it's a, I've heard this argument a lot from Christians talking to atheists. Well, if there's no heaven and there's no hell, then why don't you just go out and murder people? Why don't you just go out and rape people? And that tells you, if they are willing, if they thought that without the threat of hell or the reward of heaven, that it's within their ethical code to just go out and rape and murder people, then how moral and how ethical are you really?
If you're only not raping because you don't want to go to hell, that's a.
But it's a
I'm trying to find something that's really good. In this article, the guy talks about you need to act with your purpose in mind, not with is this ethical or am I doing the right thing? It needs to be does this achieve the goal? And I'm looking there's a great quote in Ayn Rand, but I don't want to spend all day looking for it. Okay, this is it. I found it. So she talks about the essay is causality versus duty, and she actually refers to Aristotelian causation and final causation. And she's comparing it to a duty ethic where you're acting out of duty. I'm doing it because it's right, and not I'm doing it because it's best for me. It's a difference between a deontological ethic. Daniel Suska's loading us up with super stickers. Thank you, Daniel. That's wonderful. So the quote is a disciple of causation looks outward. He is value oriented and action oriented, which means reality oriented. A disciple of duty looks inward. He's self centered, not in the rational existential, but in the psychopathological sense of the term, i.e., concerned with a self cut off reality. It means self-doubt centered. What he does ultimately is ask sort of what kind of, is this my duty? Is this ethical? What does this make me? He's not looking to see what can I achieve? How is this in my interest? And I think that we need to keep our goals in mind. But I do think, though, Persephone, that when you're running an organization, people need to know what's expected of them. And so, in that sense, a code of values can work so that people know what's expected of them. But ultimately, the person should still be acting and doing it. I don't want to say because it's right. Their character should be such that they're goal oriented in their lives. They're acting in their own best interest. They're acting rationally. So that if you put forward your goals as an organization, the person now knows, okay, this is what I'm doing. And if those goals are rational and fit within that person's hierarchy of goals, now that person's character is operative to seek to fulfill those goals. Does that make sense, or am I all over the place? I don't know.
No, it does make sense, but I also think that there needs to be a differentiation between values and principles and rules, because they are different. And I think that having principles and having values versus having structured rules, I just lost the train of my thought entirely. Do you
That's
understand what I'm
okay.
trying do you
I
understand what
do.
I'm trying to say though?
I do. I understand when you're looking at a good looking guy, you can lose your train of thought. Everyone, I think, can relate to that, and everybody can empathize and show sympathy. So, but when it comes to what you're talking about, yes, rules, the objectivist ethics, for instance, let's step outside of organizations for a second and just think in terms of ethics. The objectivist ethics doesn't have a list of commands, i.e., the 10 commandments or the 613 laws of the Torah. What the objectivist ethics does, it sets the goal, which is survival and flourishing of the individual human, and then it develops what are the types of values, the things that you should seek in order to flourish, and what are the means, the principles that you should live by in order to attain these values. They're not commands, they're not rules, they're virtues, principles that are operative or are the means by which to achieve your values. So now if I go and work for Daniel says that Michael has mesmerizing eyes. It's true.
Yes, it's
They're
very
hazel.
true.
You can't really tell. But the thing is this. So you have these, my good looks are yet to distract Jim. He says, Jim, I've sat across you at a dinner table, and I know that's a lie. So you want, when you go to work in an organization, right? You need to know what the goal is. So if I'm working for Persephone's sock company, and Persephone, I need to know what Persephone wants me to do. We want to have 600 beautiful socks with Persephone's picture on them, and they have to be done in an hour. So now I know what my goal is. That's what I need to achieve. And Persephone, she has developed a system by which to do this. So she says, well, the system is going to be Michael's going to work with 5 other people. This is the, and this is each person's role, but within that, just get the job done. Okay, so now I say, is that consistent with my overall values, acting in my own interest? Am I implementing my my principles here? And now my character helps to achieve the goals, my personal goals, but also the goals of Persephone's organization. I'm looking for, you have to look at everybody. Persephone, I get it. Should I mask up?
Yes, just put a I'm not going to make that was a mean joke. I'm not going to do it. So when I was reading this article, I feel like structural and sort of those kinds of how to do business rules are different from these are the rules that tell you how to behave as a person, because one of the things that he talks about in the article is that having these rules and incentives like decreases your practical wisdom in the long run.
I like that.
So
Yeah.
that's less about like how to make the socks and more about rules of behavior. And if you tell the person the rules of how to behave in society are X, Y, and Z, and you do not break this rule, you're not teaching them ethics. You are telling them this is what you do. You're not teaching them, and that is what decreases sort of moral wisdom over time. So that's the rules that I was thinking about when I was reading this, and also the incentives, like you talked about with the apples. If you
Right.
give people these incentives, then they're not doing things because it's right. They're doing it because they want the reward.
Yeah. Ultimately, what we want, if you're running a business, is to hire people of sound character. Right. Now, I do think that I'm not I think that there should be some prohibitions at a job. I mean, you have to do that if you're running a company. You want people to know this is not acceptable.
Mm.
But I do think that if you get too detailed and try to micromanage a person's behavior, then that stunts the character development that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I would love some questions from the audience, because that's always helpful when the audience jumps in with questions. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit to something that you and I were discussing before we came on the air. As I'm going through, Facebook, looking, I frequently come across people, women, more women than men, I think, are prone to do this. They use filters.
Mm.
Now, when somebody's using a filter, it's blatantly obvious.
Sometimes.
It
Not.
looks well, maybe, yeah, yeah, I guess, because if I don't know, I don't know, right? So sometimes it's blatantly obvious, and I just don't relate to that, to the desire to do that, to make myself appear as something that I'm not. Um, Daniel with another super sticker. Persephone had some insight, I think, into why women do this, and Persephone, share that with the audience. And audience, do you do this? Do you use filters?
So
Explain it, Persephone.
yeah, so my thoughts are, when you look at magazines and you look at models on the covers of magazines and you look at pictures of actresses, those are all photoshopped to hell and back, right? So women especially have this idea that this is what they need to look like. They need to be perfect. They need to have this flawless skin because they see it in on the covers of magazines. They see actresses that have this like flawless skin, and they don't really realize at a young age that that is fake. So they internalize this idea that they are not as good as the people that they are seeing on the magazines. And so when they start posting photos of themselves, they want to make themselves look as good as the other people that they are seeing. But what this creates is a very circular system where they are feeding into that same insecurity in other women, in other young girls, because they are trimming themselves up and making their lips look bigger. And then people see that and then they think, oh, this is what she looks like in real life. And what I said was that these people are not posting for people that they're going to meet in real life. They're posting for validation from people online. And yes, it's not real validation, like you said, because it's not really what you look like. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it still feeds their ego, and they want to be told that they're beautiful because everybody wants to be told that they're beautiful. And again,
I don't.
you you wouldn't like it if I told you that you were beautiful?
If you told me I was a good looking guy, I love to hear. I mean, I hear that's like I go out and people are telling me, but no, seriously, no. I mean, yeah, it's okay to like compliments, right?
Mm,
But to bring it back to the ethics is, if I'm seeking compliments for something that I'm not, right? Then it's first of all, it's dishonesty. Second of all, I'm looking for other people to validate
yes.
me, as if their opinion is more important than my own. And not only that, you're looking to be validated for something that's not even true. It's just, I think that the best way to approach this is to develop self esteem,
Yes.
behave ethically, and learn that you do not need the good opinions of others to be a good person, to be a good looking person. That, uh, and especially not for something that's not you. And also, I think that to an extent, I mean, like, people will sometimes tell me, and what's something I could say? Like, somebody will talk. I have a relatively high IQ, right? Not as high as Jim's, but pretty high. I'm not proud of that. I didn't earn it. I did nothing for that. I'm proud of the education that I've gotten because I've done that myself. I'm proud of the character I've built because I've done that. But I'm not proud over something about something that I had nothing to do with. And it's similar with beauty. I like to look at beauty. It's nice. But ultimately, I understand that some women, some men are naturally very beautiful. They didn't do anything to get that. So it's not that's not a character issue. So while I think it's nice to look nice, I think that when we elevate looks, the aspect of looks that have nothing, you have nothing to do with. Now, if you're proud, if you've worked out, and have done something that I have not, and have a very chiseled body, and you're proud of that, that's something to be proud of,
Yes.
right? But your facial structure, no.
So yes, it is very important for people to not put beauty as their highest standard. This should not be what you want to be known for. If you are beautiful, good. Like you can be happy that you are pretty, but it shouldn't be what you base your entire identity on. Unfortunately, there there is a lot in the popular culture that does encourage men and women to think that, if you're not beautiful, then you're not worth anything. And this goes for women and for men, because you're bombarded with these skinny blonde women, and you look at them and you think, well, that's what I need to look like. And then guys see these jack dudes and they're like, well, if I don't look like that, then I'm not worth anything. But you need to train yourself out of that behavior, and you need to learn that it's not actually that important at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that when we, adopt a rational code of morality, when we're doing the right thing on a regular basis, when we are capable of achieving our goals, that's self-esteem. And as we feel better and better about ourselves, the less dependent we are on the opinions and compliments of others. And it doesn't mean we don't like compliments. It just
Yes.
means that you put them in perspective. You don't become dependent on the compliments of other people or on the views of other people.
Yeah, but that goes for everything. You need to have self-esteem about everything, and not just about how you look. You need to have confidence in your abilities and in your knowledge and in your skills. Because if you require validation to do your job, if you need someone to pat you on the back and say, congratulations, you did a very good show today, every day, or you feel like you're not doing well, then that's also something that you need to work on. It doesn't only apply to, physical things, it applies to everything.
When you just said that, it reminds me of in prison, we guys cook. I don't know if you call it cook. You add water to noodles. But the noodles are mixed. I mean, they can come up with some pretty creative stuff, right? But every time, so they come around, they pass out the food each, or you go to them and you get your food, you get your tray, and you go in your cell and eat it. Inevitably, the guy comes around for the attaboy. What'd you think? How was it? Because they got to get it's great, it's good. And I find that a lot, that people like really need that attaboy. And it's just, what if I said it sucked? I mean, what does that matter? Uh,
Yeah, but it's so funny, because I think we had this conversation a little while ago, where if you're always getting the attaboy and everybody's always telling you, "Oh, you did such a good job. Oh, you did such a good job," eventually you stop believing them. Because are you telling me that I've never made anything bad, that I've never
yes,
fucked up?
it's the inflationary idea of attaboys. It's like currency. The more you print, the less the money becomes worth. And it's similar with attaboys. Because this gets back, I think I did talk about on this show, the importance of honesty. If I just see you telling people all the time how wonderful they all are, then you tell me how wonderful I am. I don't believe that. My girlfriend, rest in peace, Melissa, was a wonderful cook. Wonderful. I loved when she would cook for me. It was so good. And one time she gave me something, I want to say it was asparagus. I'm not sure, but it was gross. And didn't mean it was badly cooked. I just didn't like it. I'm not a guy that likes vegetables anyway. She says, "Oh, do you like it?" And I said, "No, it's disgusting." And she got upset. And then I told her, "Well, honey, you now know that when I tell you it's good, it's good,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to wonder if I'm just bullshitting you. I have no desire to be BS ever. I just don't. Daniel says he puts a lot of effort and attention to his hygiene, grooming, and appearance. He loves when people notice. I don't need affirmation, but I like them. I have a funny, maybe a funny story to share with the audience. So a little while back, Daniel mentioned that he was had to get his car detailed today. Daniel drives a Maserati, and he picked me up for coffee yesterday. And unbeknownst to me, prior to getting in his Maserati, I stepped in dog poop. So the dog poop and ends up all over, the inside of his car. So we had to get it detailed today. I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. We got 5 dogs. But poor Daniel, this beautiful car, and he had to take it to get, he has to get it detailed. But what are you going to do?
So
Go ahead.
Before there's two comments. So Nicole Hingle says, with age comes confidence. I had no self-esteem when I was younger. I do sort of agree with that, but I also think that your self-esteem is something that you need to work on, and that, like, if you have kids, you need to teach your kids to work on. It doesn't necessarily come with age. I know plenty of older people that have zero self-confidence.
That's a very, very great point. I think it can appear that way because as you grow, if you're putting in effort, you're going to learn, and you start to learn that the opinions of other people don't matter, and your self-esteem grows. But it's because you're learning. It's not just the act of getting older. Like people will say, time heals all wounds. Well, no, it doesn't. I mean, if you're not doing anything about it, then it's not going to heal all wounds. So I think that with age, there's probably a tendency for self-esteem to increase because of what the people are doing. But if the person does nothing, they will get nothing.
You speak about time heals all wounds, right? And I have personal experience with this. My father died 10 years ago, and it was awful. Obviously, I love my father very much. I Because I, went to therapy, and I learned how to deal with grief and how to deal with my emotions, and just in general how to deal with things. Losing my father was horrible. But eventually it became easier for me to deal with. My sister, who is 10 years older than me, to this day has not dealt with my father's death. So she will still randomly just burst into tears. She can't talk about him because she never ever dealt with the grief. She pushed it down and she pretended it didn't happen, and she never dealt with anything. She never thought about it. So same amount of time, same relationship, but she's still struggling much more with the grief than I am. Of course, I still miss my father, but she really, really struggles. The other day, she phoned me in absolute tears because before my father died, he'd bought like 5,000 plastic bags, and she was using the last of the plastic bags. And she had like a full on like breakdown. And I was like, it's just plastic bags. So 10 years down the line, because she never dealt with it, she never learned how to deal with it. She's, so yeah, time doesn't heal all wounds. You have to work on things.
Katrin says, I told the story already, but recently I had this former coworker telling me he is glad to have me as a friend. Although I look the way I look, I finally understood I don't need friends like that. Good for you, Katrin. I remember the story. Yep. Persephone said it well. Daniel, my friend, says time heals most wounds. Daniel, check your premises and consider our conversations too. All right, Persephone, it's been wonderful again to have you here. We will be here again tomorrow at 2:30. We are considering extending the show for a longer period. I am curious if the people in the audience think that would be a good idea to make the show a little bit longer. In order to do that, it would help immensely if we got more engagement from the audience. That would be freaking fantastic. But otherwise, it's Thursday. We're going to see you tomorrow's Friday, and I am looking forward to it. Go ahead, Persephone.
And don't forget that there is Be Ethical merch available at thecapitalistcorner.org.
Oh, I got to start putting that up on the screen then. That we'll start doing that tomorrow. Be ethical merch. Everybody, till tomorrow, be ethical.